Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How's it going, everybody? Cameron here with Canadian Gamer, back at you with another video here. Now, before we get started, I just want to show off beer today. I'm not actually going to open it here. I just want to show you what's in my fridge. Classic, go-to, Colt 45, the strong beer. Can't go wrong with a little bit of Colt 45 in your life. And no, I'm not getting any kickbacks from this beer. So what's going on here? Wow. Is there ever a lot of prime real estate out there today? Holy God. Apparently I'm occupying quite a bit of it. Oh man. Is that a Bowser tattoo on your elbow, or are you just happy to see me? What's going on, everybody? So today's topic of conversation, I want to talk about I believe they call it the ESRB ratings board, how video games are rated. Now, I'm not obviously an expert on it. I don't have any children myself, so I'm very limited as to what I can really, I guess, my opinion on this subject. But what I want to talk about is it fair for you? Should you be restricting what your kids are allowed to play as far as video games are concerned? Again, if you guys want to chime in the comments, I know a lot of you guys have children of your own. Maybe you can chime in. I know for myself, I can only sort of comment on maybe how it was when I grew up, and maybe talk a little bit about how it would be if I had children, how I would go about it. Now, for me, I don't like putting restrictions on anything. When I grew up, I used to watch a lot of movies with my father, and I watched everything. I watched all of the Oliver Stone movies. I watched all the Schwarzenegger movies, Paul Verhoeven movies. So there was no shortage of violence. And hey, I turned out okay. But I mean, I think with today's society, we're not living in 1987 anymore. And I hate to say it because I know this might, trigger a lot of people, but we are living in sort of a society where it doesn't take much to, trigger anybody. We have a lot of overprotective parents out there, in my opinion, that like to censor everything under the sun. And I just think from an artistic mindset, you can say what you want. I know some stuff, violence can be over the top, but when you're trying to tell your kid what they can and cannot watch on TV, as an example, to me, I was never really a big fan of that. With video games, it's the same thing. Growing up, I didn't have any restrictions on video games. That being said, the most violent game we had growing up was probably Doom or Mortal Kombat in the early 90s, but other than that, there wasn't too much like, Donkey Kong Country, Super Mario Brothers. Like, it wasn't as big of a deal as it is now. Nowadays, I guess, you have these Call of Duty games where you're literally running around with an AK-47 trying to shoot somebody else. It is quite a different landscape than it was, again, 25, 30 years ago, especially when I was growing up. So it's hard to say. The gun laws in Canada are quite restricted, whereas in the U.S. it's completely different. You can have, an unrestricted firearm, I do believe, and over here you can't really have like a handgun unless you are in a power of authority where you would require one, like a police officer, as an example. Whereas in the U.S. it's almost like the wild, wild west out there. So I guess it's a sensitive subject for sure. If I had a 10-year-old boy right now, would I pull a copy of Call of Duty out of his hand and say you can't play it? I don't think I would. It's a touchy subject, right? You see a lot of the stuff that happens in the media, and can you blame the video games for what's happening? It's hard to say, right? I can't say it's the video games that are causing it. But yeah, I don't know. I just think to take media out of your child's hands and tell them what they can and cannot watch, it's like if your kid was drawing a picture with a orange crayon, and you pulled the orange crayon out of the child's hand and you said, no, you have to use this color. I don't believe in that philosophy. And I don't know. That's just the way I feel about it. How we doing for time? We're already at the 5-minute mark here. I know the ratings board, it's different in different countries. Obviously, some countries are more strict than others. I know New Zealand and Australia are pretty strict. I think there's even like an age requirement depending on what type of game you're buying. I'm pretty sure it's like that in Canada as well. I would say that the amount of violence in video games nowadays has definitely ramped up, more so than it was, like I said, 20 to 25 years ago. With the graphics that these consoles are capable of, it allows the game programmers and the game designers to, you know, be able to create things that we never thought were possible. So it's, like I said, it is a bit of a touchy subject. I guess maybe if you had a child that was really young, like we're talking 5, 6, 7 years old, maybe it would make sense to have an Amico versus allowing your kid to have an Xbox One X and, like I said, be playing games like Call of Duty and Max Payne and all the violence as well. But I'm just saying, like I said, when I grew up, there was certainly no restriction, especially with the movies that we were watching. And but then again, not everybody has a boy and not everybody has a girl. You know, sometimes girls like the violence as well. Sometimes they don't. Same with the boys. These days, the lines there's no barriers. Like I said, these days it's not uncommon for girls to play video games, whereas maybe 30, 35 years ago, maybe it wasn't as common. But I'd like to know your guys' thoughts on this below. Do you think you should restrict what your child is allowed to play as far as video games are concerned? Or are you not concerned so much about that, and you want to let your child explore any medium that he chooses to, and you don't want to put a restriction on that, and you want him to be able to, you know, be able to see everything that's available to him, the good and the bad, him or her? I'd like to know your thoughts on this. Please leave it in the comments below. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. As always, you guys stay safe and have a great day. Take care.